In this episode, I'm going to look at another camera. This one's a Sony CCDTR23 that doesn't work, and hopefully we're going to get this one going so that I can put this one up for sale, and someone who needs a camera to transfer tapes will be able to take it off my hands. Today I'm going to look at another camera. This one is a CCDTR23. I don't know the condition of this one. I'm going to remove the strap first. So let's try turning it on. Got nothing. No picture. Oh, that part opens. So that part works. Okay, it opens. I've got nothing in the viewfinder, and I've got no picture on it here. Let's see if it'll play a tape. It's not turning on. It's not moving. No tape transport. Yet it opens and closes the cassette compartment. Interesting. Well, I think we're going to have to take this one apart and see why it's not working. Okay, these ones come apart relatively easy. A couple screws out from the cassette compartment here. And some arrow mark screws on the side, on the back, and the there's one here. Try not to take out the screws I don't need to take out, because you just need to remove the arrow mark screws on these ones and not the other ones. This is an A mechanism chassis on this one. These ones were actually fairly good. There were a few issues with them. Most of them were around the ribbon cables that plug in the different the boards, like the switches here, for example, and the drum connector and stuff were known issues on these ones. They didn't have a lot of capacitor problems because these ones were made after the era of the bad caps. I wouldn't say that they can't go bad, and just saying that as a rule, capacitors aren't a big issue on cameras of this vintage. I get a sneaking suspicion this one has to come out too, if I'm not mistaken. And the whole thing should just pop apart. I'm missing any screws. But this is not releasing. This should pop right out. I don't want to break anything, but this should pop out here. It might just be stuck. There, it's just stuck. That's why. Okay, with the other screws out over here, I got them all out. The rest of the camera should slide out from the rest of the body, just like that. We're going to unplug the ribbon connector going over to the viewfinder, like that, and this one over here, like that. Okay, common problems on these units here are the interconnects, which is typically this connector right there. That's the one that interconnects the flexible board. This flex board here also has the tendency to break from this, doing this. So that could be a problematic, but we're going to try reseating this connector here. And there's also a couple connectors here. The drum connector needs to be redone, because what'll happen is sometimes the drum will just spin away out of control, and it'll wind up to like 10,000 RPM and then shut down. That's another known issue. I couldn't even get that far though, because when I pressed play, nothing happened. The only thing that's working on this is eject, and I had no picture when I turned on the camera. When I flipped on the standby switch on the side here, nothing happened. Standby switch, of course, is on the camera over here. There's a switch over here, right? That's flipped. That's controlled by this little shutter. When you move the shutter up and down, camera, off, and VTR. So there's a 3-position switch over here, camera, off, and VTR. That switch connects via this control line, which ends up coming down, I believe it's through this cable here. This one here is for the viewfinder. And this one here, it's also got the buttons and stuff on the side. This other one over here is for the, I think it's just for the battery backup, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, this could be a connection problem here. The switch also could be bad, but as I say, these are if you look at the material here, they're not copper, right? So sometimes, I guess it's silver is what it is. It's not carbon, it's silver, but it tarnishes, right? You can see it's black, but where I unplugged it, it scraped. So sometimes what happens is just oxidation causes a poor connection between the connector and the flex cable, and it causes problems. So many times we can take these things apart and just unplug the plugs and reseat them, and they'll work. And say this camera here, it does have surface mounted electrolytics. You can see some down here on the board, right? But these ones are not typically problematic like they were on the older cameras. It's just because they learned their lesson. The electrolytics that were problematic were taken care of. What I'm going to do on here is I'm going to just unplug the drum and plug it back in to reseat it, because it's a known issue on these. So we'll just unplug the drum and plug it back in. Same with this connector back here. Actually, I'm going to take it right out. I'm going to unplug this one from here. And we're going to reseat the on the ribbon flex cable here, the one that plugs into the drum. I just undo the connector, unplug it, reseat it, plug it back in like that. And this circuit board also should be just removed and placed back on, because there are connectors on this one as well. So we're going to undo the plug for the loading motor. We're going to do this connector here at the back, and I'm going to lift this board out, because there are a couple connectors on here that really do need to get reseated. If they haven't caused problems, they will. And that's the ones there I was just going to reseat. So one of them is for the drum motor here, and over here this one's for, I think that was for the switches and stuff that are in the one connects to the flex cable. Which one is it? This one connects to the flex cable, and one connects to the capstan motor. I think it's that one there, and then there's a drum motor here. One's for the motor and one's for the FG pulses, I believe. And then the other one that plugged in here was for the actual rotary transformer. That's this one here. This is the one that brings the signal. I used to put cleaner and stuff in here, into these connectors. Put lithium grease and stuff on them, to keep them, and put contact cleaner in them. But I used to do that all the time. I don't so much do that anymore, because I don't know that it's doing anything. I think more the problem is just breaking the oxidation, and it's more mechanical. You just separate the connectors and reconnect them, and just the mechanical action of removing and reseating the connectors will generally make them work for years. But if you want to put contact cleaner in there, yeah, I guess you can do it. It's just something I used to do all the time on them, and I don't know that it helped. I used to put contact cleaner on them. I used to put lithium grease on them to, to make the connections, keep the air away from them. But I don't know that solved anything. It may have actually created more problems than it solved. And the only reason I did it was because when I worked in the business, I went to training courses at Sony, and that's what they told us to do. They said, take them apart and put like a thin layer of like a contact cleaner, wipe it with an oil-based type contact cleaner or lithium grease or something, just to keep the air away from it. So that's what they told us to do, so we did it. But again, I don't know that actually helped in the long run, because I would see camcorders come back, a couple of years down the road, back when people were using these things a lot, right? Camcorders aren't used nearly as much now. Most people that have got them are using them for one thing and one thing only, and that's to try and get their material that they had saved onto 8mm, try to get their material recovered. So, and that's what'll happen with this one. This will be another camera. The last one I had, that other little camera, I sold that one. And if I can get this one going, I'll be selling this one too, because people are looking for working camcorders. And when you get them off eBay, the chances of actually getting one that works is actually fairly low, because most people are just flogging them. They might turn them on and say, oh, it lights up, but is it actually working? And is it working properly? That's a big difference between turns on and lights up and actually playing back recordings. Huge difference. So when I sell a camcorder, I can certify, yes, it's working. You can go on my YouTube channel and you can see it. You can see the one that you're wanting to buy. You can see it serviced. You can see what was done to it. And you can see, yes, it does indeed have a picture and it is working properly. I can say that because I'm servicing these things, getting them back running. So, I'm going to redo this, reseat this one up here as well, and then we'll try the same again to see whether I get any different results. So I'm just going to carefully remove that. I'm not even going to unplug it completely. I'm just going to pull it out part of the way and push it back in. Because if we have a connection problem that was caused by oxidation at the contact point, by just moving the thing back and forth, I've now broken that oxidation, and it should now have cleared itself up so that it'll actually work. One thing I'll check while it's apart is I'm just going to see if the guides are loose or if they've walked. And oh yes, you can see that the guides here are actually quite loose. So this probably will need a realignment. Both of the guides are a little bit on the loose side. These ones have lock screws down here that sometimes walk their way loose. You can see them, if I can get a shot of them. One thing I can say about this camera is that even though I can't bring the camera in close and zoom in, I can actually zoom in quite well with the camera 2 feet up on its tripod, on its jib arm. So that's one thing I can say about this AX53 camera, is I can get some pretty good close-ups without actually having to get the camera right in there. Whereas with the AX33, I'd actually have to bring the camera down and have the camera sitting like only a few inches away. This one here, I can do it from a distance. But there's lock screws down here that are used. They tighten down to hold the guides in place. Looks like maybe they may have worked their way loose and the guides have walked a bit. So we'll check that before I put the camera together. I have to actually assemble part of it to make it work. So I'm going to put the camera back into at least the left side of the shell, because I have to make connections, otherwise I'm not going to be able to turn it on. And then we can see whether first of all, whether it'll play, and secondly, whether I get a picture off of it and I'm able to get an alignment. one's in. That one's in. Okay, that one's in. Now I don't have to plug this one in just yet. Let's just check it out and see whether it will run first. So plug the monitor in. And we'll turn it on. Oh, it's got a picture. The camera's working. The viewfinder's working. You can probably see that. Viewfinder's working. The camera section's working, as you can see. How's zoom? Zoom is working. That's good. I've made progress because it wouldn't turn on before. I had no picture. Nothing would turn on. Let's put it into VTR mode, player mode, and see whether this thing will do anything now. Well, it's loading a tape. Let's try pressing play. Okay, as I thought, there's a alignment issue. It's not playing very well. Let's just see if I can adjust this. I'm just going to try adjusting the entrance side guide. This is the guide going on the left side of the drum. As you can see, it's not up by much. I'm just turning the guide here a bit. See if I can get that picture. So not looking too bad now. Wow, I went to, there we go. And now the other guide over here. Let's see which way it went. Did it go left or right? That's getting worse. I would say that's perfect. Sound? We have sound. I would say that's probably as close to perfect as I'm going to get it. Now, I could put the scope on this thing, but I'm just going through the motions. If I've got a good picture here on playback, then I'm probably, and I got sound, I'm probably very close to being where it's supposed to be. So, let's tighten down those lock screws so that it doesn't walk away again. I'll just stop the tape from playing. Removing the unit from the chassis because I don't want to undo those interconnects again. I don't have to. So I'm just going to just slide the mechanism out just a little bit. Just enough so that I can get to the lock keepers on the bottom and tighten them down. So there they are. I can see them. I'm just going to grab a smaller Phillips. This one will be, I think it's a 00 maybe, or 000. What is this one? Is this type size 0? I'm going to say a 000. Little green one. That's probably the right size. Yeah. Tighten that one down. Tighten that one down. Now these guides shouldn't move again. Now I'll test it again before putting it together. We'll do a test recording on here too as well. I have a perfect picture, as can be seen. Just going to fast forward this tape out to an area beyond where I've recorded, and we'll make a test recording on here. Okay, I'm just going to put the side cover on and the microphone on to make the recording. I won't button it up or anything yet. I'm just going to put the side panel back on because I'm pretty confident that I'm in good shape. And make sure that everything lines up. So that in the lock position, the switch up. And then when I pop the side on, it should line up with everything. Same goes for the front panel. Put the front panel on, plug in the microphone. I'm going to make sure that I'm in the player position, so I'm going to make sure that this is in the playback position so that the switch will line up with the little switch on the side. Plug in the microphone. Pop it together. That way, when I've done my recording and I've verified that everything is working, all I got to do is put the screws back in and put the tape door back on, and it's all back together. So I'll switch this over to the camera position, turn on the switch on the side here. I hear the camera turn on. Okay, that should be recording. Where is it here? Standby. Here we go. It says record. It's recording now. There's the image off the monitor. I got cables hanging all over the place here from testing that I've been doing. Got a monitor that's under test. I got a monitor sitting here that I've been told the backlight's cut out after it runs. It's been running for a week and the backlights haven't cut out on it. Or no, correction, I was told the picture went black, but if you hit the menu button on the remote it came back. But it hasn't done it. So anyway, this recording, I should have enough here. Standby, turn the lock switch on, that turns it off. Go back to playback. After it runs, it's been running for a week and the backlights haven't cut out on it. I would say that this is a success. Let's rewind the tape. Okay, I'm hearing a ticking sound. Almost sounds like there might be something in the gears. Let's see if there's anything stuck. Let's see if there's any. Oh, you know what? It's a cracked hub. Ah ha ha. So this one's suffering from the cracked hub syndrome. Parts aren't available for that, but you see here, this is the same problem that happens on so many of these units. There's a little tiny crack right there in the hub. We'll try to bond that together. I'll just put some heat on there and fuse that so it doesn't separate anymore. It's quite a common problem. We can take the hub off to do it. It really doesn't affect it. If the gear breaks, though, if the whole thing splits, then of course it's not going to rewind. It's not going to work. But it was more of a problem on the take-up spools on some of the home decks, like the EVS 5000 and the EVS 7000. Believe me, I've got my share of those, and you can't get the parts anymore for it. This one here's got a cracked hub here. I might have another one of these actually. I should take a look and see whether I have one of these hubs that I can change it. It's not going to affect the operation of it, and I could certainly fuse that with my soldering iron so that it won't open up anymore, and that should prevent the thing from causing future problems down the road, like breaking. But it'll make that tick 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 sound when it's on rewind. We'll take this hub out right from here. I'll just take out this screw here at the back. This will lift out the retaining plate. And then I can lift out the hub. I got to take out. I got to take out a screw right here on the back tension. Brake band. Take out that screw. Then I can lift the brake band out. the hub out while I'm at it. Okay, there's the broken hub. The brake band winds around here. You can see the crack in the gear. And what causes this is the metal expands and the plastic shrinks, and it ends up causing it to crack. This is the same problem that happened on the EVS 7000s. There was exactly the same design on their clutch. And I found a way of fixing it is just to take a hot soldering iron and just kind of fuse the plastic back together. Fuse it back together, just like this. That will usually extend the life of these units, because you're never going to get one of these gears. They haven't been available for a long time. I don't know whether I've got one for one of these, and I don't think I do. I do have some for other things, but not for one of these. And of course, what this does is this is magnetic, and there's a Hall sensor down here. This is a rotation sensor. Detects this turning. You see, it's a slip clutch, right? The top side has got a magnet on it. If I were to take it apart, you can see the magnet there. You see, there's a magnet underneath this, and this is so that when it's in a rewind, the gear is spinning faster, right, than the tape, and this allows us to slip. And that little Hall device down here detects this magnet on the top turning. So if it stops turning for any reason, it knows that the tape has stopped, and it will issue an emergency stop command. But it's a very common problem on all these stupid 8mm devices like this. The plastic cracks, and yeah, it creates headaches for everybody involved. It was nice when you could get the parts, but unfortunately that's not the case anymore. You can't get these parts. It's going to drop back in, and I got to wind that. I got to release this clip back here behind it, and then I'll drop it like that. Then I got to pull this. I got to pull the back tension back around here and put the screw back in. Now put the retainer back in place. Now we can power the unit up and see how it works. It's probably still going to make that this clicking sound, but at least it'll stop it from falling apart and breaking. Okay, play. I have a picture. I have a good picture, as you can see. No problem there. It's still going to tick, but at least the gear's not going to fall apart. There we go. Tape's rewound. Everything's looking good. I'd say there's some damage to this tape. Tapes in machines that you don't know what the condition of them are, the tapes tend to sometimes get a bit crunched. But I think we're okay. Put the last couple screws in this one and get this one ready to go up for sale. No charger, of course. The charger that's on here is mine, so whoever buys this will need to have a charger that uses the standard, like those MP6 batteries, that type. If you're looking for a camera and you've got a Sony camera, a charger like that, doesn't have to have these, by the way. Just like that, okay? Regular battery. These terminals here were for cameras that had the optional. This charger had the audio video outputs on it and inputs. So a couple models of camcorders had a bunch of connectors along here that would line up with these. So those don't play any role. If you've got a regular charger and you're looking for a camcorder, I have one for sale. But it won't last long. The last one I offered for sale, it sold within a couple days, and the owner of it now is happy. They sent me an email. They're recovering all their tapes. So there we go. Good as new. Thanks for watching.